In a musty old hall in Detroit they prayed, in the Maritime Sailors Cathedral. The church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down. Of the big lake they call Gitchigumi, Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, keeping exactly 0 kids in cages, and the cartel steer way clear of this underground bunker.
That's right. There's just like in the southern border right now where there's no photographs allowed. I wonder why. When the Biden administration put that on there and nobody says, the media just shrugs their shoulders.
Don't you think it's a little insensitive that they put these Mexican and Hispanic kids in these foil-looking blankets? I mean, that they dress them up like burritos.
Well,
isn't that a little insensitive to make them look like burritos?
I think what's more insensitive is making them part of the welfare state.
Well,
I mean, I think that's way
absolutely
worse.
too.
I'll dress up as a burrito. I'll dress up as a burrito.
That's funny.
I'll dress up as a burrito any day. Throw some hot sauce on me, and that's fine with me. But I'll be damned if I'm part of the, the decades-long dependency on government. But yeah, it's nice to know that our military bases are being used to house people who broke into this country against the law. It's just wonderful to know.
Yes.
Yeah, you can thank our president of the United States, who's puts in that tough 3-hour day. Jay, I've heard the song.
Yes, I'm sure you have.
And I'm struggling with who the hell it is.
Okay.
But I know it. I know who it is, but I don't know. I hate thinking because it makes boring radio. Plus, it hurts me when I start thinking. I don't. It's that one guy. Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac.
No, it's the other band that I was thinking of. I don't know.
That is the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald from Gordon Lightfoot.
I know him.
Right. And
see, now if you'd have told me how to spell it, I would have known.
Well, we'll get into that a little later. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, every time we start a podcast, I start with some lyrics, and Andrew tries to guess it, and then I throw it up on the Spotify playlist.
That's right.
Community Solutions, music from the podcast, where you have a great array of music over 200-some episodes to listen to.
That's right, and we know thousands of people are listening more and more every. Remember, this show's audience exceeds the U.S. birth rate. That's the latest thing we got from Spotfly and all those people. Now, let me just say this.
Yes.
I know little about music, though I do know how to enjoy it, Jay. And
yes.
I'll tell you something. You want to enjoy some music, go to Spotify, that one place.
Spotify,
yeah, that one place that you finally showed me how to download and put on. And you put random anything on the Community Solutions music from the podcast. Let me tell you something. You're going to find good stuff, total variety of stuff there. Everything from the Super Bowl Shuffle to the Beatles to Alice Cooper to whatever, all the ones I've gotten wrong. Billy Joel, there's everything on there. It's you get hours of things to listen to on our site there.
Yes, that is true.
Jay, question for you. I have no idea why I started thinking this. I sawed. Now I'm blanking. Who's the guy, the football player who killed Aaron Hernandez? Okay?
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to say something that I don't believe. Okay. Because every time somebody is accused of murder, the first thing somebody brings up is mental illness. Now, they're not evil people. They're not
right.
They're just their brains effed up somehow. Blah 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 blah. Well, he killed himself in prison.
Yes.
And now people are trying to make this deal out that he had this thing called CTE. Have you ever heard of this? This chronic brain trauma?
No.
I can't pronounce it. So We'll just call it CTE because I can't pronounce the last. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yes. But a 2000s. I don't believe. First off, let me just say this: you ever have a concussion before?
Maybe. I don't. I've never been diagnosed with one, but I'll tell you, one time. I used to skateboard a little bit. I was never that good, but I was going down a ramp and skateboard went out from under me. I had a helmet on, but my head smacked the concrete, and seeing stars for a little bit. So probably. I didn't feel nauseous or anything that I remember, but yeah, there's a good chance I've had one. I don't know.
Well, I think that I'm just going to say I think it does exist. But the idea that everybody who's ever played football has had this or something like that. I can think of twice. I'm sure, diagnosing a concussion when I played football and diagnosing one today are obviously two different things. But I remember twice getting knocked completely on my arse playing high school football. One time I remember I was I probably didn't get a concussion from this, but I remember I was on the punt return team, and the punt comes back, and some guy and this guy and I were running parallel to each other, back for the punt.
Yeah,
and we were kind of we're like polarities at the same magnet. Okay, and we were kind of, I don't know if we were jawing back and forth or. I looked at him and he looked at me and I'm like, I'm going to knock you on your blankety blank. And I looked, I saw my teammate get the ball. I turned and was going to, I was going to clothesline this guy.
Yeah.
And he got to me first.
Oh.
He got to me and I was knocked sillier than, I'm proud because I never missed a play.
Yeah.
Even though I don't remember what, I have no idea what happened after that. And actually, I can think of one more time, too. There was another time where I got what's called crack blocked, which is when you have your peripheral vision in a football helmet kind of covered a little bit.
Right.
And we were in a scrimmage game. I was maybe a sophomore. We were scrimmaging the JV. I don't remember, but it was in a scrimmage game. And actually, the scrimmages sometimes were worse than the games, because you wanted that starting spot, and there was healthy competition. Okay, let's put it that way. We were competitive. Okay, I'm the linebacker. Pitch goes to the running back.
Yes.
Okay, and there's nobody there to block me. So I'm running at the running, and I'm gonna tackle. I'm gonna throw this guy to the ground. The varsity coaches were watching. Blah blah blah. Out of nowhere, I get blocked from the side. And I never saw it.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I was cut. I had a big cut underneath my my chin thing. My mouth guard flew out. My chin strip. Something cut me. And I remember I had to come out. That was back during the AIDS thing, or if you were bleeding, it was, oh, no. So I remember I had to get like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Band-Aid or something because like all they had. And I was probably parallel to the ground when I got blocked. I never saw it. And that's the worst thing when you never see it.
Yeah.
And I actually think I got a concussion from my own teammate one time. We blocked a punt, or the other team effed up a. I'm sharing Cooper football memories here. Effed up a punt in their own end zone. Whatever happened, the hike was bad or what? There's the ball laying on the ground. Yeah. Okay, and there's like me and 5 other guys from Cooper right over it. Okay, well, my buddy picks it up. He got to it first. And he went up to me, and I went up to him, and we just went, yeah. And he had this habit of grabbing your helmet and headbutting you. And I just remember he grabbed me and just headbutted me. And I just went, hello. And what I remember was like wandering. I remember my dad yelling at me. This is what I also remember. I was like wandering back to the bench.
Yeah.
And I had a good friend on the team named Mark Foster, who was a lineman, and I was the tight end. He played right next to me.
Yeah.
And he turned to me and our quarterback, my friend Jamie Zool was our quarterback, and they both came to me and said, Richter, we got the extra point. Where are you going? And like, well, go ahead and do whatever. No. You're in on this. Come back here. And so my buddy Mark had to like grab me, bring me to the huddle. And luckily it was a run or something the other way. I don't even remember moving, but I went to the sidelines and one of the coaches asked how many fingers he was holding up. It was always 2. You just said 2. I mean, I didn't even look. I just said 2. Okay, you're fine. Get back in there. Time to kick off. All right. So, I mean, but this idea that playing football causes dementia when you're 80. I mean, am I wrong to be skeptical of that?
No, I mean, it may not. I think the jury's out on that. So I don't think it's wrong either way to have I guess before you have all the facts to say this is what it is kind of worse than being skeptical of it. To say that it would affect somebody like Aaron Hernandez when he was as young as he was, I don't like poking fun at it, but I think that it's, because there's, a lot of players have, and I don't know why they're suing the NFL, but probably because the NFL has a lot of money. I think if the NFL would throw some money at these people, they would magically disappear. Yeah.
But football is a sport where, unless you make it touch, you're not going to make that sport. You're not going to make it. And there could be, there's concussions in hockey. The concussions probably in baseball. I mean, I'm sure there are. Mm-hmm. But every time a football player passes away, and again, it's a tragic thing when somebody dies at a young age. Usually, though, there's not more than one cause. I mean, usually they've been drugs, with alcohol, with so-called depression, and the idea every time a football player passes away, I hear brain trauma, and it's kind of like when a wrestler dies, you hear steroids. Well, they all use steroids. Well, first off, they didn't all use steroids. No. Some of them used them to different degrees. Steroids used to be prescribed by a doctor. I mean, can I say that? I mean, they used to be. They still are. In small amounts, mm-hmm. Steroids are still used all the time. So I'm just sort of, it's sort of, I mean, maybe just the whole, mental thing just kind of drives me nuts when I hear that every time somebody's accused of something. It's like, nobody's good or right or wrong anymore. They're all just ill. I mean, it's just kind of I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't buy it in the case of Aaron Hernandez. I don't buy it at all. There was a clear motive for killing the guy he was convicted of, and I just don't believe for a second that had anything to do with any kind of mental illness other than being evil. I just don't see it. But
well, it's too bad, because if he was still around, Kamala Harris could have bailed him out of jail.
Ha! Yeah, he might be the poster child for the Ugandan Giants stuff there. Yes. I'm looking at there's lawsuits. I mean, there's probably 1,000 players on here.
Yeah.
And there's maybe even more than, my God.
Yeah, there's a big list.
But like I say, the NFL will just throw some money at them and nothing will happen. But I mean, is it? Here's an interesting statement by Bo Jackson. Said if he had known the risks associated with CTE, he never would have played football. Do you believe that?
No,
I don't believe that for a second.
No, I don't.
I'm sorry. Love Bo Jackson. Feel terrible for how his career ended abruptly. I wish he would have never played baseball because he was not as good at that sport as he was at football.
Right.
But do I believe he'd go back and never play football? No way.
No.
I'm sorry, I don't believe it. So,
when you can do something at the highest levels, you do it as long as you can, because you love it enough to put the hours in to become amazing at it.
Well, and let me tell you something. I mean, as far as great athletes I've ever seen in my life, Bo Jackson has to rank among the highest.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a guy who plays baseball, walks into the Raiders at the end of the year with no training camp, and runs over guys. I mean, like, you're right, though. When somebody can do something to the highest level, I mean, they're not going to voluntarily say, "Oh no, I'm sorry, you make the risk reward, and you know what that is, and it's just
And looking at like when he played college ball and all that stuff, I mean, you show me a person who is in between the ages of 20 and 30, who looks at information like that and says, I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna sit this one out. No, they all say that's not gonna happen to me. Because I'm me. He wouldn't have changed a thing.
No, and I do think it exists. I do think it is there in extreme cases, but I always think it's mixed with something else. I always think there's another factor involved, whether that's drug abuse, painkiller abuse. I know these guys are in a lot of pain from other injuries.
Absolutely. Knees,
elbows, whatever. I just, the idea that you have mood swings and that means you have CTE, Christ, that's the case. We all have it. It's just too simple of a thing. And anyway, I mean, I feel bad for some of these guys, but ultimately, I can't buy that they're all. I'll tell you what, though, I do remember when Steve Young's career ended very abruptly.
Yeah.
And I remember he had struggled with concussions. And I can't remember where the 49ers were playing, but he got hit so hard that there was a camera. And you got to remember, this is before cell phone cameras. Anybody could follow him and tape this now. But they actually caught it probably is on YouTube. I didn't look. Caught him being helped out of a van by like three guys and being like walked into some place because he couldn't stand up straight. So I mean, it does happen.
Yeah,
where somebody gets, and I don't know how he's doing it. By the way, do you know Steve Young is related to Brigham Young?
Really?
I
did not
distantly.
know that.
Yeah, distantly, because he's Mormon.
Okay.
Steve Young, he went to BYU.
Okay.
And so somehow they're related. Brigham Young only had 149 children, so I mean, somehow, I'm kidding, but I mean, somehow they're related, and maybe I'll find that out by the end of the show here.
All right. Go ahead.
No.
I was going to actually ask you something that's a little related, little unrelated. So if you were done with that,
DUN done.
Okay. Because I'm sick and tired of hearing about this, but knowing what a huge fan you are, and it does have implications, and I don't like it. The whole deal with Major League Baseball and moving the All-Star game from
You've been reading my tweets?
Georgia. I haven't actually had a chance to look at them. Moving that from Georgia over to Coors Field in Denver.
You know what I've done? I've called on CNN to move out of Atlanta.
Yeah, well, that would be a good start.
Yeah, well, they're hoping it goes away, I think.
Move from Atlanta to Atlantis.
Yes. I think sports in general are being watched less. I think this is a big reason why.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that the idea that I can't watch a baseball game without seeing Black Lives Matter stuff at Target Field, and the idea that I can't, you can't watch something without a political message of any kind. Forget whether I agree with it or not. That's not it. I mean, Major League Baseball made this an issue. It put everybody who plays baseball, announces for baseball, loves baseball, in a position where they have to take a stand on this.
Yeah.
And I think the commissioner's doing a horse manure job. He's hiding out. He's a coward. This is I think he is. I don't think it's his job to stand there and make political pronouncements.
And there's no way he's read this bill.
He hasn't read this bill. He moved the game to Colorado, which also has a photo ID requirement. By the way, Atlanta's a city that's like 40% black. Denver's a city that's 9% black.
Right.
Who's hurt by this?
Yeah.
Who's hurt by moving this? Rod Manfred, you coward, you slimy lawyer or whatever you are. I mean, he's made this decision. He's hid out in his office since.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, say what you want about David Stern. I know he's passed away now, but he was the NBA for Roger Goodell. Say what you want. They don't hide from interviews. They don't hide from the media. They don't do stuff like Bud Selig didn't do this either.
Bring back Pete Rozelle.
I bring back Kennesaw Landis. He can do that. I mean, at least he made a decision and stuck by it and took responsibility for it. And I don't like that because you're not the first person to ask me this. And it's like I have to take a stand. It's like baseball's not a sport anymore.
None of them are.
Everything is a political.
Maybe hockey.
Well, yeah. I mean, hockey's watched by 6 Eskimos. I
Right.
mean, it's. I don't even know if I can consider that a major sport anymore. I mean, it's like you can't. There are calls to the Masters just started. There are calls to move the Masters out of Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's even a controversy about the name now.
Yeah.
The Masters.
Right. Like it's a slave driver that started the stupid tournament.
I mean, it's the best golfer in the world for about 20 years. What color was he? I mean, what? It's just, I mean, it's the seeing race and conspiracy and feeling like, I think the worst part is feeling like you have to do or say something.
Yeah.
When so many of us just want to watch sports, just use sports as an outlet for whatever's going on in your life, from COVID, from your crappy marriage, from your stupid job, whatever. Okay. And you can't do it. Mm-hmm. And, I've said this before too, the sports media is just as bad and just as left as the regular media is.
It's the whole entertainment industry and the media industry. It's both of them. It's sports. It's music. It is. Yeah.
It's not
movies,
everybody, but
art,
it's too many of them.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you what. If CNN moves out of Atlanta, I'll take this seriously.
Yeah.
But they're not going anywhere. They're barely touching this story. So, I think it's terrible for the citizens of Georgia. They should be able to pass a law. And we should also rely on our media for accuracy about this law, which hasn't happened.
No.
And so, I mean, and I tell you what, I'm going to put a lot of blame on Democrats in Georgia, a lot of blame on the president for his complete lies about this bill. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden, you couldn't tell the truth if you wouldn't know the truth if it ran you over. Whoever gave you the script to read didn't know you should fire that person. By the way, Steve Young is the great, great, great grandson of Brigham Young.
Wow.
Yes. So.
Great, 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 great.
3 greats.
Oh, great. Great. Okay.
Great, great, great.
Okay. That's a lot of greats I lost track.
I mean, let me ask this question. Just one more thing about the All-Star game, which baseball's ruined anyway. I mean,
right.
The All-Star game used to be something awesome. Now it's just a joke. What happens the next time a law is passed somewhere?
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to pull out, what... sport going to pull a franchise out of it? I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, I don't know. But, you look at like CPAC. And, there was the whole fallout with the hotel chain because they were getting pressure. And then
I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I consider myself part of the cynical party now.
Right.
So
I don't
watch that like I used to.
Yeah. Well, it's not really a Republican thing. It's a conservative thing.
I think I saw Kristi Noem's speech, and I think I saw one or two others.
I saw President Trump's speech.
Okay, I did. I heard about it, but I didn't watch it. Yeah, I mean, and he's spoken there several times, but I don't know. I didn't hear about the controversy though. The hotel.
Yeah, I mean,
How about going after the hotel that hosts the Bilderbergs? Okay, how about that for something?
The Bilderberg Hotel itself. Let's go after
exactly.
that.
Why don't we go after that? No, that's okay. They can go plot world domination in the Great Reset.
Yes.
But if a bunch of people want to talk about our nation's founding or honoring the Constitution, then that's some sort of
that, and the whole thing about the shape of the stage being in some weird, like really, it's not a well-known Nazi symbol, but apparently it's a Nazi symbol, but nobody there knew it. Obviously, somebody somewhere knew what they were doing because they were able to call this thing up that nobody had heard of before, and it's
what?
Yeah, it's crazy town, and that's where the hotel got involved, and said that they disavowed CPAC and all this stuff, and it's
oh God, what a joke!
But I mean, those are the things that are coming, where when you hold the unpopular point of view,
it's not unpopular. Though.
No, it's made to look unpopular. When you're in the minority, let's put it that way, and maybe more the minority of money and power than numbers, they can make it seem any way they want to.
Well, of course they can.
And
it's like polls.
That's where the problem is.
You can ask a question designed to get a certain answer.
Right. So I think we are going to see this more and more, whether it is an event somewhere. And I mean,
I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think it's going to go down. I think these things, as everybody has their fake outrage, I think it's going to lose its potency. I think people are going to get numb to it. You can't boycott every product that you frickin' use in your life. I mean, you just can't. I mean, it's impossible. You never leave your house. You never turn on the TV.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're going to see this in the short term, but I've seen this before and I've seen it fail.
Yeah.
There's a lot of outrage about. Remember the bathroom law in North Carolina or whatever?
Yeah.
The NBA was going to pull their all-star, even though they got a franchise right there.
Yeah.
Partly owned by Michael Jordan, maybe the greatest player ever.
Maybe?
Well, I mean.
Absolutely. I don't think that's even a question.
Greatest player of his era.
Yeah.
It's hard in basketball when guys play different positions, and he's certainly was the greatest of his time, and the greatest as far as taking the NBA from where it was to where it's become.
Absolutely,
you can chronicle Michael Jordan, and I think you probably are right. But I mean, the idea that by Michael Jordan's home state, North Carolina, Duke basketball, and what you're going to pull out? No, you're not. It was huffing and puffing. They whined and bitched, and then it went away. And I think, look, the debate should happen between citizens and politicians and things like that. It's okay. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with somebody speaking out if they choose to do that. They have to understand that there's consequences when you do it.
Yeah.
And so I don't have an issue with that. But I think this idea of on either side, nobody's going to watch baseball. Oh, come on. Get real.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I don't think that. I think
nobody's going to buy a Coke again.
People are going to watch and drink Coke and whatever, but it's what from their vantage point, from the vantage point of these companies, it's not going to change, and that has to do with the Great Reset, and that has to do with the ESG scores and coming across as being woke, because that's the only way that you're going to be in the in crowd to be able to continue to be considered to do business.
Again, though, I think that's going to backfire, and it kind of leads to what we're talking about. But look, you can't go out every
consumers.
Every school district can't go. We're going to have 50% black teachers. Well, there aren't enough black teachers to do that.
Right.
We're going to have 70% women. Well, there aren't that. I mean, it's not going to happen. They're going to set these goals. They're going to pacify this crowd, and a year later, we're all going to forget about it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's where I see this going. So, am I worried about it? Concerned about it? Sure, but in the back of my mind, I'm saying, you got a goal 20 years from now. What, Delta Airlines? We're going to have 50% of our new pilots in 2045 are going to be. You're going to have a different CEO. You're going to have a different. I mean, there's no way you're going to do that.
Right.
So I mean, there's I think that there are companies saying things because they think they have to, but it's kind of like this. I remember thinking, like when rap music got really big, and every song was something that rhymes with itch and blah 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 like that. And I don't consider that art. That's me. I don't consider that. And you kind of felt like, how far can it go before there's a pullback?
Yeah.
And you reached a point of absurdity. It always cycles. So, I mean, I do think we're not done with this. But, I remember the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. Oh, he's a slumlord, blah, 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 blah. Didn't do anything to the sport of basketball. Ultimately, it had no effect. All the outrage and all the threats, and ultimately nothing happened.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think baseball's just committed a very big unforced error. I also think it shouldn't be up to the commissioner to do this. He shouldn't have the sole power to, after something's been awarded to a franchise. The Atlanta Braves didn't do anything to cause this. Neither did the workers at their concession stands or ticket salespeople.
The restaurants around the stadium.
Yeah. The tourism.
Parking garages.
They didn't do anything wrong, and they should be punished by this, and that's why the commissioner's a slime ball. I wish he'd resign, go away, and stay away, because baseball's done nothing but get worse under him. And I should be the commissioner. If I should be the commissioner of baseball, I'm going to be the commissioner and the governor. I'll do both jobs.
Okay.
Speaking of woke stuff.
Yes.
Jay, how about your neck of the woods?
Oh, boy.
I love when we get to talk about the North Shore here with you.
Can't wait to talk about Duluth.
Just any chance we get to...
And I know we'll get to the article or whatever, but the reason I picked the song at the beginning, I had to pick the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald because you sent me an article that the Star Tribune had written, and it showed all of these huge waves down by the piers of Duluth. Like global warming was having this effect on the lake, and every flippin' November the waves are that big, and it's been that way. They wrote a song about it. They wrote a song about it back in the 70s, the 60s. I guess I don't know exactly when that came out. But
the Fitzgerald was in the 70s. So
right. Okay, yeah. So the Fitzgerald doesn't see I'm terrible at dates. Yeah, so the Edmund Fitzgerald encountered huge storm with huge waves back in the 70s. But we're going to use that picture and say that global warming, to try and sway people that it's getting bad. The storms are getting bad on the lake, or the storms are getting bad on the lake. We got it. Well, I guess it's the Star Tribune writing it. They're not talking like that. But
it was picked up by the Duluth
News
Tribune and a few other things up your way.
Yeah, well,
up in your territory.
I'm sure that the old.
Is there another newspaper up there besides that one?
Oh, sure.
There is? I don't know. What's it written in crayon?
What? No.
Well,
my hometown.
I know the mayor of Duluth's a good friend of yours. So
no, I don't know her.
Well, that's not what I heard.
I don't know her. I think she's an implant. That's what I think. She what
as opposed to an explant?
On the old KQ morning show, what did they used to say? They're a mover inner.
Got me.
Yeah. No, the Proctor Journal, I bet, didn't write that.
Proctor Journal.
Yeah. Hey, it's every bit as good as the Sun Post down here. So,
I bet it's 90% ads right now.
Probably. Probably. Truth in advertising.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jay.
Yeah.
The state of the city, Duluth, by the way, the fourth largest city in the state of Minnesota.
Yes.
I actually think that will change.
Yes, it used to have over 100,000 people back around 1900 or so, and by the time
it was the biggest port city in the Upper Midwest.
Absolutely, and by the time I graduated, it was around 92,000. It is now somewhere down in the 80s.
85,915 as of 2010, but I think it's going to be passed.
Absolutely, you have a lot of people moving out of the city into Hermantown and into the various. There's a lot of townships around there as well. Plus, you have people that can't get work at all because it's all tourism. It's railroads, tourism, and hospitals. If you don't work at any of those,
government job,
you got to come down here, and so that's what happens.
Well, that's too bad.
I
actually really love the area, to be honest with you. I love the whole North Shore.
Oh, I do too.
I think it's one of the treasures of Minnesota.
May through October. Oh, nothing better.
I love the fall up there. I really do. I think it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
I will say this though: it is pretty hard to drive my truck in downtown Duluth.
Yeah.
It is not easy to drive by. The restaurants my wife and I like. Fitger's.
Over at Fitger's, you have the Pickwick with the best onion rings. I would say
Grandma's would give you a run for your money.
They're good, but they're not Pickwick. The closest thing I found...
Well, if it comes to food, I'm going to believe you.
Thanks. The closest thing I found is down here, Latuf's off of 55. Their onion rings are amazing.
Latuf's.
Yeah, Latuffs.
Latifs.
Latufs.
Latifs. I'm going to call it Latifs.
Not tiffs. It's a U.
Huh? Latufs?
L-A-T, yeah.
Latufs.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's a pizza place. Good pizza, but
Oh.
onion rings are so good.
Okay.
So, closest I found to the Pickwick, but the Pickwick is still the best.
Okay, then the next time my wife and I go up there, we have to have onion rings.
Best pizza I've ever had, Superior, Wisconsin, over at the Shamrock. But they don't take credit cards. You got to show up with cash, or else you have to go across the street to the gas station and use the ATM and come back to pay.
I like that.
Yeah,
cash money, homie.
The old 70s paneling in the place. Oh, it's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, we get to pick on your old neck of the woods here. From Monday, April 5th, 2021, the State of the City address from your pal and friend, Mayor Emily Larson, who's just a beaut, lays out. Now, folks, I'll tell you what, you want to get scared about what your city's doing and paying attention to your inclusive parks and all that BS. You don't got nothing on Duluth. You know that they're getting $60 million in pandemic relief for what?
Wow. Yeah, I would like to know for what.
Well, where's that go?
Well, where does any of it go?
Exactly. I mean, it wouldn't be necessary if we didn't shut the state down.
Yeah.
I almost said governor. Oh, God. Oh.
Let's not jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, like I say, it can get worse. Not much, but it can. Mayor Larson wants Duluth to be the greenest city in the country. I'm reading, by the way, from a couple different... In fact, I'm going to tell everybody here, there's a Yahoo article, Duluth Mayor eyes a better normal as city recovers from... This is actually pulled from the Star Tribune.
It will kill that city.
Well, the city's already dying.
It will put the knife in the heart, is what it will do. There's a lot of businesses that would have to be retrofitted. Because it's so cold up there, they have to use heat, for a good deal of the year.
I'm using another article from KBJR.
That is the NBC affiliate up there.
Duluth,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Channel 6.
Channel 6. Well, retrofitted, but again, this is where, and that's a sneaky thing that cities will do, because every time there's a sale, every time there's a change in a lease, they can come in and say, "Oh, no, you're not grandfathered anymore. Now you got to put in your solar panel or your hydro toilet." Or whatever these people can make up, and it stays under the radar.
Yeah. In Proctor, I mean, they're called the Rails because they have a huge rail yard there in Proctor, and then from there they send trains down to the taconite, or the iron ore docks. So you got the big ships that are coming in. You got, they're dumping the taconite into the ships. That comes down from the Iron Range. It comes down to Proctor and then goes down to the.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
You suck at that voice. Let me just say
what do you
that.
mean? That's exactly how they sound.
You can't tell an Ole and Sven joke to save your life.
Oh.
Doesn't sound authentic enough, Jay.
Oh,
doesn't with me either. But I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
if I'm up there, I start talking like that. It's like
Yeah.
when I was down in the South, I started talking Southern just because,
when I would
eat
visit
them
my
grits
grandma.
yet? It's like Jeff Foxworthy. Jeet yet? Yes. If you and your dad, if your dad takes you to the bus stop because you're both in the same grade, you might be a redneck.
Oh boy. But no, I mean, they've done nothing but kill business in that town for decades. They used to have a big factory there that made like cranes and stuff like that.
The whole
called,
Iron Range has gone that way.
Because
For
they're not
50
allowing
years
them
now.
to mine the iron ore, and but I mean, there are places
Or
that are mining.
transport it. I mean,
right.
transporting it's a big deal too.
And that's what I was getting at,
Yeah.
is that comes down, that taconite comes down on the trains and then goes down to the docks there. And then some of it goes to two harbors as well, and they've got some docks there. And so you're going to make this the greenest city. You're going to have to get rid of the railroad. You're going to have to get rid of the, the
but here's
mining
the thing.
will not be able to go through Duluth.
That's the thing. They're not going to. What they're going to do is the same thing that they're doing to driving.
Yeah.
They're going to make it such a pain in the arse that eventually it just dies a slow death. This isn't something that can happen in a couple of weeks.
And that's the thing with driving. You're not going to have that too. As cold as it is, people like their cars. It's not a big enough city to have a big bus system. They have a bus system, the DTA, Duluth Transit Authority, but it's not. It doesn't go everywhere. It goes on the main streets.
It's because there's not demand
I know.
everywhere.
And
it's
so-
going where the people either need the transportation or it's the convention center. And you know where I'm talking.
Yeah.
And it goes up through by Pickwick's, by the Glen Sheen, and then it turns around. I mean, I've seen them. Every time I go up there, you see them, but they're all in one spot because that's where the demand is. Let's just be honest. That's where it's at. I took the bus in Duluth once when I was at the Republican convention up there. I mean, I had to take it to go from, long story, doesn't matter, but I took it from one spot to another. And if you're down in that area, it's you can use it, but I mean, you can't take it to the outskirts of town.
Well, it does go up to Proctor, but it's on a very limited route.
Right, that's what I mean.
There's a lot of walking involved.
It's a morning route and it's an afternoon route, and that's it.
Yeah. And so these are the kinds of things that you're going to have to go after, and as well with cars, how in a town where you cannot rely on the public transit system to get around for the vast majority of people that live there, are you going to get rid of cars? And with the winter and the cold, how cold it is, the length of the winter, people warming up their cars, they don't just get in those cars and go, no. So you've got a lot of idling that goes on. You're never going to get rid of those things.
Well, and remember, it doesn't get as warm there either.
Yeah.
In the summer.
In the summer, yeah.
You got a lot of ships coming in. I mean, there's no way.
A lot of snowmobiling.
You're going to make a port. You're going to make a port
Yeah.
city the greenest city in the nation. That ought to be laughed at.
That's like saying Pittsburgh is going to come in number 2.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I don't want.
I mean, that's not a port city, but with all the steel mills and
right.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't want dirty water, dirty air. I'm not saying that. I'm saying these things aren't realistic for the economy and the tradition up in Duluth. I mean, you lose, like you're right, Jay. You lose that industry. Duluth's going to go the way the rest of the Iron Range has gone, unfortunately, because it's such a great part of the state. Mm-hmm. But again, it's been made I mean, how do you expect people up there to make a living? You're not going to make a living up there building solar panels. There's no demand. okay, and they're not practical in a place like that. Electric cars are not practical in a state like Minnesota.
Yep.
All year biking is not practical in Duluth. Too hilly. It's not possible. Again, there's that niche, like there is everywhere.
Yeah.
There's that percentage of people who take the bus because they can't afford a car because they're handicapped for some reason or they're elderly. Mm-hmm. There is a niche that rides a skateboard and a bike everywhere. As soon as they become a certain age, they buy a car, they buy a house like the rest of us do. But there is a niche. There's a college up there.
There's two of them.
Yeah.
Well, there's more than two, but there's two main ones.
Yeah. And so, you are going to have some of that, but you can't. What is this business of trying to force this on everybody? I mean, when did it become the job of a mayor of a city to force transportation on people?
Yeah. I don't know. And what are you going to do? Stick a bunch of windmills there? Stick them, the whole hillside is going to become windmills? No one's going to want to look at that. Part of the charm of Duluth is the beauty of it. So,
how many windmills would it take to power up the city? I mean, I'd like to know.
Exactly. And you're going to need additional. You can't use solar up there because half of the year, you have light from what?
From nothing.
7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the evening.
That's impossible. Could use hydro a little more, but I bet they are to a certain extent. Yeah. I mean, I bet they always have up there.
They do a little bit, yeah.
But again, if it's not profitable to do, if there's no demand to get it, there's no way you can. Look, I've said this before. We've been subsidizing the electric car since the gas outage in the Nixon administration, okay? Yes. And it's still not out there. People don't want them. The cars are ugly. Nobody wants to buy. If it were look, there's been a lot of innovation since then, and there are some hybrids and things like that some of the yuppies like. But bottom line is just until there's until I can drive what looks like my truck, I'm not getting one of those cars no matter how much money you throw at me.
I don't know. The Teslas are all right. I mean, and they're going to come out with a truck, and we'll see how that goes. But I think we're still
decades away, though, from and you know how much I love Elon Musk and people like that. But I think we're a ways away from those being a alternative that most people can have. Remember, you got to be able to afford it.
Right. That's a huge one.
Right. And how much is it to repair these cars? How far does a charge go?
Yeah. Right now it's like about 350 miles, which if you're just driving in town every day, that's great. But how are you going to do a cross-country trip?
Semi-trucks.
You got to stop and charge for 6 or 8 hours.
You're not. It's just impossible. I do think it's part of the future. But again, I think the private industry supply and demand will take care of that.
Yeah, well, if they let it. I mean, the government's trying to control that too.
Yeah, of course. I haven't even read one line here of this.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I've got opinions.
Good discussion. In her speech, she touched on the pandemic, policing, and the city budget. Actually, she talked very little about the city budget, by the way. I tried to stomach most of the speech. She also reflected on the past year. Larson said dealing with the pandemic has been tough on most cities in Duluth, no except really, what have you done? I mean, you didn't have any control over anything. What the hell?
Yeah.
Come on. Duluth, we not only got through last year together, we got through it stronger and more resilient than ever.
Right.
Now Larson is looking ahead and shared new initiatives that she planned for the year ahead. Now here's the sentence, Jay, that's gonna knock you off your rocker over there.
All right.
I promised to build a more inclusive, ding, 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 collaborative, ding, 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 fair, ding, 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 and sustainable city for all neighbors across all neighborhoods. The core vision still guides me.
Oh boy.
Now, Jay, that sentence, I want to take. Where's my phone? I know my phone's cracked worse than my ass, but I'm going to take a picture of that sentence, and I think we need to refer to that in our future consulting.
Yes.
Of what not to say or what you know what I mean? Like here's something taking it right now.
Yeah.
Got the picture. Okay. It's like you hear this. Okay. You want to run from this like you hired John Wayne Gacy to be a clown at your kid's birthday party.
Right.
That's how far you want to run from this.
Right.
I've directed. Okay, well, the first initiative, I'm sorry, I skipped a paragraph, is what Larson calls community policing 2.0. It aims at creating a more community-oriented, the O word, policing approach in which everyone feels safe. You know, Jay, do you feel safer with the police having a community-orientated approach?
No.
Or do you feel safer if they, go after the criminals and,
That's it.
take care of that? Take care of that. You could do your community crap later. I mean, really?
Well, I don't like the way they play fast and loose with things here. I mean, to say that white residents comprise 90% of the city's population, but half of all use of force incidents involve people of color last year. Well, let's say this, okay? Duluth has become a major drug hub where people from Chicago come up through Wisconsin into Duluth and then go from there as well.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that is true. And I'm saying this fact because I know somebody on the Duluth police force very well. And so that is a problem. And so some of the arrests are people that don't live here. So to say that 90% of the residents are white, but most of the arrests are black, you have people coming in from out of town that get arrested a lot.
Not to mention, and I'll throw this in, it's a big tourist city.
Yes.
I mean, how many people run through that city in a year?
A lot.
It could be millions.
Uh-huh.
It may be.
Right.
I don't know if it's millions, but it could be.
Yeah, you could have I'd like to see it. Most of their arrests.
You got a port city, first off. You got a major hub for, like you talked about, the iron ore. You got a lot of people who visit. My wife and I visit there several times a year because we enjoy it up there.
Yeah.
You got state parks right north of there. If you go along the North Shore, along, all the way up to Grand Marais and all that, people go through Duluth. I mean, it's got to be in the millions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And here's another tricky thing that is used.
Oh, can I just finish that first? That thought. It also talks about the indigenous residents. Well, you have many, many, many indigenous residents there that don't ever get in trouble with the law. But you have a collection of them that live on the Central Hillside in downtown Duluth that get arrested over and over and over and over because they walk down to the bar, they get drunk, and then they cause trouble. Now, a lot of the people, and this is true of any city, you have repeat offenders that get arrested over and over and over and over. So to say that...
Reminds me of the guy on Andy Griffith.
Right, exactly that. One guy that's always in the cell.
who locked himself in the jail every night.
So, well, white residents, maybe 90% of the population, half of all use of force incidents are probably on the same people over and over and over and over to a great extent. You have the same troublemakers, or you have people coming in from out of town, and they don't share those statistics here. I would also venture to say that most of the people of color in Duluth never have a problem with the police.
Of course not. I think
it's a
that's
bogus
completely
stat.
true.
Bogus stat. It's offensive.
I'm going
to
say
me.
something else too.
Yes.
You also have, let me back up a second. Here's what makes me skeptical that this is even true. Half of all use of force involve people of color. Well, how many incidents is that? Because you could have 10 incidents, 20, 50, not very many.
Right.
In a city of 85,000. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no city that big that has zero.
Right.
And, how many, what's the definition of use of force? I mean, you can define that. Notice how they have no statistics to back this up. I mean, they don't tell you the use of force here. I mean, it's all this racial it's all meant for you to think that the police are racist. I mean, that's what you're supposed to take out of this, or that the minority population is being treated unfairly somehow.
Yeah.
But I always say this: use of force. You attack a police officer, they're going to go back at you. I don't care what color you are.
Yeah.
Okay? So the lesson I take from this is don't attack a police officer.
Yeah, that's
it's not
a good
that
lesson.
hard. But police officers don't just, I know there's a handful of exceptions to this, but they don't just go beat somebody up for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they're attacked, they react defensively.
Right.
They're not always right. We have to say that.
Absolutely not.
That the police do wrong things. Remember, you and I have said this on this program a million times. We're not police apologists, and we're not police haters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Every case is different. And to me, to just blatantly say half of all, with no context being given there.
Yeah.
No respect for every individual case, that stat means nothing to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's nonsense. Disproportionately high rates. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go, okay, well, I'll tell you what. We got a problem here, but the people offending are black, or I guess we call it indigenous now. Yeah. Black and indigenous. Well, we're not going to arrest them because then that affects our stats. So we're going to bring in what are you going to do? Bring in Dr. Phil and talk. I don't understand it. I mean, police go where the crime is.
Right.
You get a call, get a 911 call, or you see some idiot driving 100 miles an hour. What color they are is not, is not the focus.
Right.
So, I mean, the idea that what this mayor is proposing, like she is proposing to do an audit of this police department.
Step up module 1, section 3. Step up your
The heck was that? You got to...
Started just... It was sitting on the table and it started playing. I don't know.
Okay, listen to this.
Yeah.
Quote, I've directed our police department to engage with our community in a top-to-bottom racial bias audit to identify problems and areas that we need to address in our approach to policing. So let me take a stab at what that means. We're going to engage our community. Now, you're going to talk to activists.
Yes.
In certain areas.
Gather the special interests together. Yeah.
You're going to come out with a bunch of rehab speak. And things like that, and goals that you can't attain. The mayor wants the department to be the first in the state to earn a commission on accredited of law enforcement agencies, which she calls the platinum standard for practice policing rooted in community trust. What?
I wouldn't trust that the police were going to come if you had.
Can you imagine that? 911. Yeah, somebody's breaking into my house. Can you tell me what color they are? Oh, well, we can't come and do anything now because of our racial bias audit. By the way, listen to this here.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this, Jay, because in the past, you and I have talked about people tattling on neighbors, things like this. The mayor is starting an initiative to create a new service called 311. It's a phone line aimed at taking all non-emergency city information or requests. Have a complaint to make? Call 311. See a street light out? Call 311. Don't know whether you need a building permit for that shed? I guarantee you do.
Yeah.
Call 311, said Larson. So let me tell you how I read this. You want to tattle on somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Call 311. Somebody not wearing their mask? Call 311. Somebody, out after 8 o'clock? Call 311. That's how I see this.
Yeah.
This is going to be the tattletale line.
Oh, it absolutely will be.
Now
they're framing it up like, if you have a complaint. Well, most complaints are certain people that don't get along well with their neighbors.
Talk about repeat offenders here, too.
Yes. That's why I always thought you should have a law where if somebody...
This is what I was trying to think. There'd be a penalty for... I was trying to think of what you used
complaint.
to advocate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody calls on their neighbor and it turns out not to be anything.
Well,
they have to pay for the police coming out.
it's like suing somebody and it turns out to be a frivolous suit.
Yeah.
You can be fined for the court costs.
Yeah.
Things like that. We do stuff like that.
So-and-so's radio is too loud. They come out there and it's not that loud. You're just being in...
Yeah, what a
dope.
waste of resource. You know what?
Yeah.
I don't like this idea, but I don't hate some of it.
Okay.
Because I think 911 can get abused.
Yeah.
And stupid things can take up their time.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask this: Who's going to man the 311? I mean, think about it. It little petty complaints can be big in a city like this. So
Yeah.
who's manning the 311? You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hey, the street lights out. Okay, well, let me transfer you to Public Works. I don't know. What are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
I can kind of see how this could be a cluster blank too. Some of this I don't hate, but I still think this ends up being a tattletale line.
Yeah.
This ends up being, counterproductive. But I do see the needless calling 911
Right.
and taking up time for things that aren't emergencies. 911 is not something you call because the street light's out.
Right.
Yet who knows what people are dialing 911 for? There's thousands of calls every day.
There's some doozies.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's peeing in the park. Somebody's riding their bike on the wrong side of the. I don't.
Oh, I've heard some that that are
It can be. Yeah, I mean, it can get abusive. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love this one, Jay.
Nope.
The mayor announced the city will commit $2 million to create the Duluth Housing Trust Fund. What, does somebody inherit that after somebody dies or something? To help create more affordable housing. Jay, can I say something just about affordable housing?
Yeah.
If I hear affordable housing one more time, houses should be free with all of the affordable housing I keep hearing.
Yes.
Yet prices for housing do nothing but skyrocket. But all you hear is affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing.
Yeah.
And it gets more unaffordable every day.
Absolutely, it does.
And this is absurd. It will help rehab and renovate dilapidated units. I just like units. To make them livable, develop infill sites, and support accessory dwellings on existing properties. Can I say something here?
Yeah.
Infill sites are owned by somebody.
Yes.
Okay, they're owned by a developer, they're owned by an individual or something like that. They wanted to develop them and sell it. That's their choice.
Yep.
Okay? It's their land.
No, I don't think they should be making people live in squalor. There are certain
Of course
conditions. You don't want some sort of a,
code exists for a reason, and there are good reasons.
You can't have a landlord having people live in unhealthy conditions.
Can't.
However,
that's what the rental license process is for.
right. This is going to tie people to the standards that are put forth in the Green New Deal. And it's
Greenest city in the country.
Yep, exactly. And so these houses will become, like you said, they will not be affordable because they're going to have all of this renovation with green technology and green building codes, and people that should be able to have affordable housing, it's going to go away.
Yeah, because all that gets tied in to the cost.
Yeah.
Listen to this. 55% of Duluth renters. First, you say affordable housing, now we jump to renters.
Yeah.
55% of Duluth renters pay more than the recommended 30% of income on rent.
Well, that's because half of the jobs are tourism jobs up there.
But also, how does this program fix this? I mean, if you're going to spend $2 million building new homes, they're not going to be cheap.
Right.
Like you said, Jay, they're going to put all the latest gimmicky stuff in here. You're going to have high property taxes because this is a new home. That's not affordable.
Yep.
And then all the houses around that, their prices are going to be affected by if anything, the opposite will happen.
Mm-hmm.
It will make it more expensive. And how about you lower the property taxes? You have
That would
how about
be
you
nice.
quit bonding? You quit assessing. All that if you're doing escrow, that's all in the cost somebody's paying every month.
Yeah.
Because of course from the mayor, there's no call to do that.
No.
Not a thought in sight goes to this mayor's very small brain that says, gee, what are we doing that adds the cost of all of this? No self-looking. It's all something wrong with capitalism. It's just
Right.
It's just something wrong. Those evil landlords, those horrible, horrible developers that I guarantee you she's in bed with some of them. They're the evil. Those evil capitalists out there employing people and making a profit. Damn it, we can't have that.
Well, I mean, and this is just scratching the surface of. And we had a podcast a few podcasts ago about
a few days ago,
right about the money that was going to be coming from the federal government because of COVID. Now, we're beginning to see now how cities are going to spend this money.
By the way,
yes.
Any other program analyze the money coming from this?
No.
Channel 5, Channel 9, they gotten off their arse and looked at this at all? No, this program, the only one that will do it.
So
they might tell you about it after the fact.
Right. I find it interesting, and this is all of these cities up there are messing this up. So, what? Internet Larson, is that her nickname? It says Internet Larson proposed a $1 million in federal coronavirus relief money go toward recruiting new broadband providers. So we're not going to let them come through the free market. We're going to entice them with $1 million.
Isn't that corporate welfare?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to recruit them to come with $1 million rather than just
and let's back up
coming to a wide open market.
Back up a second. Though.
Yeah.
How many broadband providers are there? There's not hundreds.
No, there's not hundreds.
There's a handful.
Up there, I don't even know if they have Xfinity up there. They have like Paul Bunyan and I don't know.
The Blue Ox.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. So they're going to be recruiting with that, and over in Souptown, which is Wisconsin, so it's a little out of our purview, but not much. Yeah, Superior. We call it Souptown up there. They're looking at having a city-run broadband service. Oh, that's just you don't want
screw
that.
Something up.
When you turn on your computer, I'm going to start the broadband, and it goes.
And you know what? You know what else to do? They'll probably put franchise fees on it. I will say this about Wisconsin: make $1 less, take home $1 more.
That's true.
Now, here's something that I find. Here's another thing. Just look for this to happen.
Yeah.
Solar power. Several Duluth City Council members recently proposed declaring a climate change emergency and directing the city to draw up a plan to drastically reduce emissions. Monday, Larson said that Duluth should be looking at its large blocks of city land, old industrial sites, brownfields, and other locations to start producing more renewable energy. So the city is what, going to take over? I mean, this whole idea of proposing an emergency, okay, again, goes back to the reason they want it to be an emergency is because they want to jam things down people's throats.
Right.
They want to force things to happen, and they think if they do this on things like that, that it's the environment. Everybody, everybody's all for that, right? But I mean, what? They're going to take industrial sites and do what with them? What do they know about renewable energy?
Nothing.
I mean, why don't you create the business climate? Here's an idea, you dunces. Why don't you create the business climate where companies want to come in there and use the capitalist system to offer those choices?
Yeah.
And if people want to, what the problem is? Jay, here's what the problem is. People don't want this stuff.
Yeah.
They might say they do in a poll.
They don't.
Well, they don't want it.
No.
They don't want it whatsoever. I mean, solar panels, they wouldn't exist without government subsidies. I'm not saying solar panels are a bad thing. I'm saying they should be out there competing with other forms of energy. And we, the consumer, ought to be able to make that choice.
Yes.
And not have it forced on us. And when I see things, when I see statements like this, it tells me that that's what's going to happen. And by the way, can I go back to the housing thing? For whatever happened to places like Habitat for Humanity? And there's already
They're
groups
still
of
around.
things that do this.
Absolutely. But if government doesn't do it, it's not happening.
Well, but I will say one thing. Let me just say one thing. I remember when I was on the City of Crystal back, in our day, the old council liked to buy up property and try to flip it. Remember that?
Yeah.
I was so upset about it.
I know.
But I'll tell you what, when I got on the Planning Commission, I did modify my view on that. My view is this. Whatever the privates, government should be the last reason. And I kind of believe this, generally speaking. The government should be the last place that people go for things like this. There is an element of property that the free market does not address. It's just true. A bank can sit on a dilapidated piece of property for years.
Yes.
And that's not good for your neighborhood. It's not good for your neighbors. The building isn't up to code. Nobody can live there. There are times where something needs to happen, that there are just things that fall through the cracks. But that is not the norm.
Right.
It's not even close to the norm. It's a 1 out of 100.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, I can see a circumstance. But when I see a blanket, we're going to have a $2 million fund, and they say they want to grow it to $4 million. And I'd like to follow the money here. I'd like to see where this goes. Is it going to be to buy up property? Is it going to go to one developer like a lot of these cities like to do? They got their little favorites that they like to hand out projects to. Is a area going to be built up where a council person happens to live, or two council people happen? We see that all the time, that there's little cliques that develop, or one side of a city gets taken care of better than another. We've seen stuff like this happen, and this is a thing to watch. I'd like to know where this is happening. By the way, in recent years, the city has, quote, given away land to spur development, and has seen a number of new apartment projects pop up. New buildings, and they complain about the rent.
Right.
So they have given land away. Yeah, you can't lower property taxes 10 cents.
No.
But you can give land away.
I would like to know if there was always also TIF or something attached to that, where they're not only paying for the land, they don't have to pay for the taxes
Probably,
for a certain amount of time.
Probably, because and there's a little bit, TIF does have some limitations, but
right.
Am I guessing that there were TIF districts created to do this? I guarantee you they were.
Yeah.
Maybe not everywhere. But if you have we've seen this too in other cities where very rich developers are doing very wealthy places to live.
Yes.
And doing it at a discount.
A lot of luxury apartments.
Yeah, not to mention city's New Hope.
Yeah.
Which complains about affordable housing and then, lets luxury apartments get built. They don't have any credibility.
Right.
But do I think TIF's being used? Sure, because that's the norm now. The norm is that if and there's some caveats that go into that, but I think there's some developers that expect a TIF. Hey, if I develop this land, I get favors, right? I get to pay less for the first few years, right?
Yep.
You're going to fix the road right out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to build. You're going to build across the street too, and that'll be subsidized.
Oh yeah.
So, but I mean, giving away land. So you take an asset that the taxpayers own, the taxpayers maintain, whatever, and you give it to somebody. It's beyond corporate welfare.
Yeah. It's everything the Democrats say they're against.
Well, and
But
plenty of people on the right, too, do the same thing.
They sure do. That's not endemic of one party or another. Unfortunately, that's the reason that we advocate to put new people in to these local offices, because that's exactly what happens. It doesn't seem to matter what side you say you're on. There are a majority of elected people seem to go along to get along.
Too much time in office is bad. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It's just BAD bad. I mean, but I mean, I'll tell you what, this community policing is scary. When you have a goal to bring use of force and arrest rates in line with local demographics,
Yeah.
I mean, that's to me, it's the definition of racism.
Yeah. And for a police department that, and I'm sorry, but their police get paid peanuts compared to police of other similar sized cities.
Good.
No. And that's a well-known fact.
But they can give land away.
Absolutely.
Police can't get a raise,
No.
but they can give land away.
No.
Yeah, the morale's got to be. But I mean, imagine being a police officer, and what are you going to do? Are you going to have racial quotas on arrests? Can't arrest this drug dealer. Send him back out.
Yeah.
We can't arrest this guy who got in a bar fight. What are you going to do? You're going to encourage more of that behavior. You're going to make things worse. That's what you're going to do. Now, I'll tell you what, you people in Duluth, though, you got to wake up. I mean, we can sit here and pound this all night, but this is who you've elected. I mean, I'm sorry to say it because I love the area. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you've chosen to put these people in charge, and you either speak up or this is what you're going to get.
Absolutely.
And
it's
I'm sure Duluth isn't alone. They're just one of the bigger cities. I mean, I'm not counting Minneapolis and St. Paul in that because they're helpless. But
right.
I mean, or helpless, hopeless, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, I'm sure that other cities are doing the same thing. I know they are. I mean, what do you mean? I'm sure. I mean, I don't know if they have a whiner line. Call 311. I don't know if they have a whiner line. But I mean,
Right.
You know that cities everywhere are buying up land and flipping it.
Yeah.
Sending things to their favorite developer. People are. We just talked about Red Wing a few weeks ago. What's going on with their police department, or what has been going on? So I mean, this whole woke stuff is. I don't know. It's pretty scary. I mean, it's pretty scary when your your city just is so off in these directions, and I don't know how many people in Duluth are pounding the city council meetings demanding this stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to know that. But again, your only way out of this is to get rid of these people in your council.
Yeah, and up there, and that's
Odd
the
year
thing.
elections.
Odd year elections. You have a town that the whole Iron Range down into Duluth is a pretty union heavy area, and because you have the railroads, you have the shipping yards, and the docks and all that.
It's
and you
changed west of that, but the
and
northeast.
Well, even on the Iron Range, though, directly north, it has become a lot more conservative because they have seen what the Democrats have done to keep them from mining, to put people out of work, and that they have done nothing to help them out. So even in a union-heavy area like that, it's changed. But Duluth has not. It has lagged behind even the Iron Range in noticing that things keep continuing to go downhill, and they
that
have
ever going to change?
I don't know. I mean, it's a bigger city. That's part of it. I don't know what the populations are of like Virginia and Chisholm,
Hibbing. Is that St. Louis County or is that Itasca?
Yavalith. That is St. Louis County.
Okay.
Yeah. Itasca is west of there, over where Grand Rapids is.
That's turned a lot. That was a very blue area for a long time. And that has, I mean, Jim Oberstar used to win 70% of the vote.
Yeah.
Virginia has 8,712 residents.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot more of a small town feel. You know, you have Eveleth and Gilbert
Hibbing
and
is
Mountain Iron and
16,000.
Buell and, you know, it's.
Well, and I keep wondering how long are Lake County, I mean, how long is, I mean, it's a very small county population-wise.
Right.
And you just wonder how long they're going to hold out. It's like the Northeast is the only part of northern and western Minnesota that has you know, remained very blue.
Yeah.
And I don't care about voting Republican.
Right.
With the left going more left every 5 minutes, you know, you just and being Duluth being,
They're on a high-speed train to the left.
well, right, and
Yeah.
it's just what point is there again that reaction? At what point is there that blowback that, okay, you know, we are going to go this far but no further? I mean,
Yeah.
when does that happen? I mean, so I don't know the answer, but you know, you're right though. Duluth does dominate St. Louis County to the point where, you know, I don't know that county could turn around outside of Duluth. I mean, the population of St. Louis County is a little over 200,000.
Yeah.
About 40% live in Duluth.
Right.
So it's a very large landmass.
Well, you have
area.
Duluth and you have Proctor and you have Hermantown and Cloquet and Esco and,
That's
you know,
included in the Duluth Superior
Cromwell.
metropolitan
Well,
area.
Cromwell's a little further out. Scanlon, all the townships. Yeah, you know. So.
Yeah, in fact, I should say this. President Trump received the highest vote of any Republican since Herbert Hoover in St. Louis County.
Wow.
39.7% in 2016 and 41% in 2020. So, and I know, look, I mean, Jim Oberstar, that was was his area for a long, long time. And definitely that whole area has changed a lot. In fact, Chisholm, I think that was Oberstar's hometown.
Maybe.
If I'm not mistaken.
He was from up there somewhere.
It is. That was his hometown.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know he passed away.
Huh.
Boy, sorry to hear that, but yeah, 36 years that he served up there. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know, Jay. I mean, I just get concerned about the fact that something that a bad incident that happens in Minneapolis does not mean that everybody on the face of the earth has to redo their police department.
No, it doesn't.
And, you know,
But that's how government works. Everybody has to do the same things and be on the same page and put in the same programs, work with the same special interest groups and put in the same policies and blah, 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 blah. And it's not.
well, I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, you know, to me, it's sort of like what's right for Minneapolis doesn't need to be right for Duluth. I don't think anything in Minneapolis is right for anybody. But I mean, you know, the point is that, you know, you're elected to serve your city. You're not elected, no matter who you are, to push some agenda from somewhere else onto people you live with. I mean, it just isn't. And it's just, I mean, I don't know. It's just sad to see this. And I love that area, and I love it no matter what. But it's depressing every day.
Yeah.
To read stuff like this. You want to read the mayor's stuff? KBJR, is it?
Yeah.
Does have some clips from the mayor's speech. She's got a maniacal look here where I paused it. So you can see there's a clip. It's about 2 minutes and 20 seconds. It's the longest 2 minutes and 20 seconds that I've seen since President Biden last spoke. So it's, it is what it is. Read it. We're going to follow this, Jay. I mean, we have to. I mean, because Duluth is one of these cities that you just remember everywhere in Minnesota. Just because you have a red county or they voted for Trump doesn't mean you have a red city council.
Yeah.
In fact, you probably don't. Or you probably have a council where the city where, the bureaucrats are the ones really in charge. And they're the ones going to their workshops and bringing this stuff back. I mean, stuff will be everywhere. Go listen to the podcast Ring Around Roseau if you don't believe that, okay? Remember
right.
Episode 200, we talked about that?
Yeah.
That's one of our early ones. I think it was a great episode. Go back and listen to Ring Around Roseau. If you want to hear about, stuff, bike paths being on the Canadian border, go listen to that. Go listen to that podcast. Well, Jay, it's that time again.
Oh, boy.
It's that time where every week you enlighten us with inspired words, the master of disaster, the king of sting, jet flying, limousine riding. The men want to be them, the women love them. Community Solutions presents with the sign-off sermon. It's way better than the pregame preach and way more effective because the Vikings can't win anyway. I present SOS, sign-off sermon, Jason Bradley.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah. My hometown, Duluth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess technically that is my hometown. I graduated from Proctor High School. I was a Proctor Rail, but I did live on the Duluth side of the boundary. So, yeah. But, as much as I love that area, much as it's, I have a heart for it, I have fond memories of my time growing up, I just don't understand what they're doing. I haven't understood what they're doing for a long, long, long time. I would watch the population numbers going down. I would watch the jobs leaving. I would watch the businesses hightailing it out of there ever since I was a young kid. And I never understood why they couldn't figure it out. Hey, they turned the Clyde Iron Plant into a place to go eat pizza and play video games and listen to concerts. Great. That's fantastic. Everybody's making half of what the people made there when they were making cranes. We're putting this stuff into place. We're not even asking the questions. What are the outcomes of this? Oh, it sounds great on paper. Does it? Does it really sound good on paper? Because to me, it doesn't sound good on paper. It sounds like a nightmare. We're going to just start tearing everything down at once and rebuilding it without taking any of the repercussions into account. I'm sorry, but that is ridiculous. There is not anyone who is a good leader who doesn't at least have a sense of where they're going to end up. Or maybe it's worse, and maybe these people do know where they're going to end up. And if they do, that's even more diabolical because of the unemployment, because of the tanking of our economy, because of the loss of jobs, because of people aren't going to be able to afford where they're going to live, because we're going to end up with a digital currency, because all of this stuff is happening at once. They see that the end is in sight, and they're pushing hard. So whether they're just dumb and they haven't thought it out, or whether it's diabolical and they have, why aren't we asking the questions? Why do we keep putting the same people into office who keep doing these things without asking, hey, maybe if I put somebody else in, I'll get a different result? But we don't. We keep putting the same people into office. They keep doing the same things or worse. And We don't like what's happening. I mean, Congress, year after year after year after year, has the lowest approval ratings imaginable. I mean, it's like record low approval ratings of Congress, but most of them get reelected. Well, what do you think is going to happen when the same people get reelected over and over and over and over, and you don't like what's going on there? Oh, it's not my congressman. Oh, really? Oh, really? Because right now, we've got a Congress that is trying to take over and make it impossible for there to be opposition to what they want to do. And they want to put all of the pieces in place and make it so that if you disagree, you will be drummed out of society. I'm sorry, I don't agree to that. I don't agree to being drummed out of society. I don't agree to not being able to have a voice. I don't agree to not being able to have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble, the freedom to protect myself, the freedom to have a trial by a jury, the freedom to not have my things gone through without the proper warrants. I don't agree. I refuse. But not just because I refused on my own behalf because of me, but we've got a country of people that we need to stand up for. And we need to fight for these rights because they belong to all of us. You know, we can get in and say, well, it's my right, it's my right, it's my right. People don't even know what the rights are. And they start quoting these rights that they make up out of thin air. Those aren't rights. Those are just things you want. But true rights, we have to stand guard. We have to protect those, not only for us and our neighbors and our friends and our family, but our children and our children's children and our children's children's children. We have to make sure that the light on freedom does not get extinguished while we are the guardians of it. It's our job. Well, we are the ones who are carrying the majority of the share of the workload to be the protectors and the guardians of freedom for the coming generations. And history will judge us whether we did a good job or not. And we've got cities that are doing this, not just Duluth, all over the place. Putting in things that just don't make sense. They're not common sense. They're not logistical. They're not logical. But somebody told them that that's the direction we're all headed in, so get on board. And they get on board. I need people not wanting to get on board. We need people to stand tall. We need people to stand up for liberty. Where are you? Where are you, my people? We have way fewer than 1% of like-minded people who are involved in local politics. That's got to change. We've got to get about 2% of people across the state, and we can change it all. And most of the state, it should be easy. Easy. Because the majority of people outstate of these big cities are like-minded. And where we have a little bit tougher time, there's still ways to do it. But we have to be smarter, and we have to have heart. So where are you? We are here fighting day in and day out, week in and week out, to make sure that we bring you the most egregious, but also sometimes the least noticed infractions on our liberty at the local level. Because we want you to know exactly what's happening. We got to start walking it back where we can. Here's a call. I'm putting out a call for us to get on these advisory commissions and start advising the city council, start advising the county boards, start advising the school boards. And let's start turning the ship just little bit by little bit. We got to allow ourselves not to allow city staff to tell us, oh, well, this is a great idea. Of course it is. I brought it. This is what everybody's doing. Well, that's the problem. This is what everybody's doing. And so the whole country is sinking like the Titanic. So what you going to do? Give us an email, will you? COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. That's COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. And let's talk. Let's get you guys on some advisory commissions. Let's get you guys writing blogs and doing podcasts. Let's start getting the word out there about what's going on in our backyards, in our communities. And we can take that and do something with it. We can make some real change. You like what you hear here? Give it a subscribe or a thumbs up or comment on it. Because we got to be pushing this stuff into people's consciences. They're not getting it. It's not being reported on. So let's find the people that are reporting on it, and let's get it out there where people can see it, where people can hear it, where people can begin to understand what is really happening and the changes that are necessary. We're looking for a team of 20,000 people across the state that are willing to stand up and do what's right. Is it you? Is it you? I believe it is. If this is something that interests you, if you're concerned, then it's your responsibility to protect your own backyard. We're willing to help you, though. Well, that's why we're here. So don't hesitate. Why? Because we love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to work.